that looks good. Stream health. Stream health. Stream is healthy. And I have sound. Okay, great. So we're live. It's 1:30 local time here in Myanmar, and I've come to you today to talk about the poll that I put out the other day and to give specific feedback to one person who has been waiting patiently here. SSS, I assume that's Raman, right? Are you the same person? I can't tell. But firstly, my name is Joko McKenna. I'm an IELTS tutor and an English teacher. Right now I'm based in Mandalay, Myanmar. And I understand how task response is the most difficult part of the task 2 question, because it's not really about English. It's not a test of your English skills. It's a test, well, it is to some extent in that you have to read the question correctly, but it's about how to organize ideas so that they support your positions. Or if you're doing a descriptive essay, as we have in this case today, do you describe it in a way that it is effective and follows the instructions given. So we'll come back to this. So Faki, you said that you were looking for identifying the main information in a task 1. How do you find it? Okay, well, if we looked at this, wait, what's that? That's over there, so that would be over here. Yeah. Okay, here's the results of our Facebook poll. Actually, it's close. I just inflated the numbers. And if you were to say, what's the main information here? Well, it's pretty obvious, really. About half the people said one thing. That's it. That's the main information. Now, what about highest and lowest? Does this orange bit here, should you report that as the main information? Absolutely not. It is, by the fact that it is, so it's inconsequential. And we'll come back to task 1 and how to do that, how to look at the main information at the end, or after we do what we came here for, or the first thing we came here for, which is to talk about, see if this works. Mirror. Yeah? Okay, I'll use this. I don't know if I have to use the mouse. By the way, those of you in the chat, if you would please let me know if my volume drops or I can't be heard. I can't tell if I can be heard or not. All right, there was a poll. Yes. Advance to the next slide. All right. So, it's already been mentioned in Sadeep, was it? By other mentors that, well, look at this strange question. It's not a typical situational essay. A situational essay sometimes is known as a problems and solutions essay. But this one here, thank you to Shelley for telling us that yes, it is, from Cambridge 16. And in a situational task 2, you're either asked, they've come up till now in 2 types. What are the problems? What are the solutions? And the other one is, what are the causes? What are the solutions? Those are the 2 types of situational essays we've seen in the past. And here we have a situational question. In some countries, more and more people are becoming interested in finding out about the history of the house or building they live in. What are the reasons for this? How can people research this? This is not a problem. Well, I mean, no, in no conceivable way is this a problem. But it is a cousin to the problems and solutions essay because it describes a situation and it asks you to say why the situation has occurred. Okay? So I should have not revealed that, but you know that, let me switch back here, that you're being asked to talk about Come on. Where are you? Yeah, okay, here I am. Say hello in the chat. Okay. So you're being asked to describe the reasons. Why? Now, problem solutions essays have always had, what are some possible solutions or measures? Now what it's asking you is, how do we tackle this? Okay? All right? How do we address this issue? And that's really sort of what we're asking here, except it's how do you do it? Right? How do we handle it? How do we do it? Same thing. Come on, thing. Move. I thought this worked. It worked a second ago. Okay, how about I just put the space bar? Will that make it advance? No. Huh? There we go. Okay. Oh, and by the way, the question would include the words, give reasons for your answers, and include any relevant examples from your own knowledge or experience. That's in every task too. And don't forget it. It's important. Okay? Then, how do we handle it? Okay, so let's analyze this question. And it doesn't matter what task 2 it is. Start by asking yourself the WH questions. Okay? So, who are we talking about? All right. Homeowners, not renters, not people who live with their families. Homeowners. Where? Everywhere. Well, not everywhere. In some countries. Okay. When? Nowadays. What are we doing? We are researching the history of our homes. And why? Well, that's the point. That's the main question, is why. So you begin any task 2 with analyzing the question and then try to come up with some ideas. Brainstorming. There's lots of ways to do this. I like the spidergram method, where you take the 2 parts of the question, and you don't need fancy graphics like this, but you break it down and you have 2 little circles. Say, why? Why is this happening? How do you do it? And then don't stop yourself. Don't say, well, that's not a good idea. That's not a good idea. What you want to do is just let yourself come up with as many ideas as you can, get them down on paper, and then sort them out. I know, I can't look at that and that at the same time. That's a shame. What if I... No, that wouldn't do any good. Okay, I can make this smaller. Over here. Here. Okay, so why is it happening? Well, it's easier than ever to do it. People might be doing it for insurance reasons, or they want to have a connection to the place that they're in. How can you do it? You can ask your neighbors. You could look at old court records, or you could look at fire maps. Now again, these are just my ideas. I had not read the candidate's essay at this point. And here it is. Sumit Singh Sakon. All right. And here's his essay as a whole. Now, into the specifics. So, in your introduction, you've got you want to show that you understand what the question is about. Okay? There are 2 parts to this question. Oh, let's make it darker so we can see it. And what do the colors mean? The colors match up with the band descriptors you see at the bottom. All right, so in the question, it said, in some countries, more and more people are becoming interested in finding out about the history of the house or building that they live in. And in your intro, you say, in some nations, an increasing number of individuals are becoming interested to know the history of accommodation in which they are living. You've changed a few words, but the structure of the sentence, okay, is exactly the same. To paraphrase effectively, you have to change both. Okay, if you can only change one because of your skills, that's okay. But to get the highest scores in, this is actually going to count for lexical resource, change the structure and the words. So, okay, instead of an increasing number of individuals, say more and more people are curious to learn the history. Okay, but you see what I did there? Instead of saying an increasing number of individuals are becoming interested, you can say an interest is being built in more and more people. That's a little more. That's passive construction. But don't just swap out words. Interested is always followed by the ing, by the gerund. So interested in knowing. Okay, what's the difference between a house and a home? This is an important distinction to make. A home is any place that you live. Okay? It could be a shack down by the river. It could be a penthouse apartment, 100 floors in the sky. It could be an apartment. I live in an apartment. Or it could be a house. A house is a freestanding building that is built for one family to live in. That's a house. Okay? There's no place like house. No. Home is an idea. House is a physical thing. People can find the past of their houses. So again, people don't just live in houses. And accommodation is where you live temporarily. Okay? Like hotels, not permanently. Okay. So, now, in your body paragraph, this is when we come down to what is the first thing you want to answer? Is why are people doing this? Now, you can say something like, well, it's the advantages that they get from doing it which causes them to do it. They do it for the benefits. They want something. You've written this first paragraph as in to explain the question, what do people get from doing it? What are the advantages of doing it? That's not the same question as why people do it. You have to make that connection. If you want to say it's the advantages, fine. Here they are, and these are the reasons why people do them. Because you can't just, what you've done here, there are a couple of reasons why people get interested in finding the history of the building in which their houses are present. That doesn't make sense. Firstly, investigating the history of your home, okay, provides them the information of material which was used while constructing it. Okay? All right, so that's a benefit. That's what they get out of it. They learn this. But you don't say that that's why they do it, okay? You just tell us what they get from it. And then this helps them to take the further steps in maintaining their accommodations. Really? Okay? How do you know the history of a home? If I want to know what my home is made out of, I'll look at it. Maybe hit it a little bit and drill into it. Okay, it's made out of this. By checking it. That's not the history of the home. Okay, so, I mean, it doesn't matter if your ideas are not good. I mean, that you can be wrong, and that's okay. You still do well in the IELTS if you do what they're asking you to do. Here they want you to say the reason is people want to know what their homes are made out of, and research into its history is one of the best ways to do that. Okay, so you've connected it. It might be silly; you can just find out by looking at it. But if you present it the right way, it doesn't matter what your ideas are. All right. So. It not only helps them maintain it, but it lets them know the exact value of their home. Okay. How? All right. So again, it's not a question of whether it's a good idea or a bad idea. It's, do you say explicitly that this is the reason why they're doing it? Because they want to find out how much their home is worth. Oh, secondly. Now we're in secondly. Okay, and then we have, oops, a little problem here with pending. Okay, pending means hasn't happened yet. Okay, it's going to happen. How is my video? I'm not paying attention to the chat. No. Okay. Aha. Huh? Display settings. No. No. Show taskbar. Okay. Now. Okay, body paragraph 2. Nevertheless is used to say, to show contrast. Okay? Despite, in spite of this, or we're going to ignore the thing that came before that. So ignoring why they do things, we're now going to talk about how to research your history of your home. That connector does not belong there. Individuals can use various methods to investigate the past of their house. They can take samples to know the material of construction and get a result after examining it in a laboratory for, Okay, so now, is this researching the history of the home or the current state of the home? It's looking at, how it is. Of course, it had to be made in the past, but this is, you're telling us instead of how they can research the history, they'll come to know about the adhesives, and that helps them do maintenance. Well, now you're answering us the question of why, again, instead of how. Oops. All right. Moreover, government authorities provide the history of the bills, such as electricity and telephone. Is this about the history of the bills or the history of the home? History of the home. So there's 2 tasks. Your task response on this is going to be lack because you did not answer the question, why do people do it? Instead, you said what they got out of it, the advantage. And then for how, you described a method of determining how your house is at the present, and then described a way to find out about some, I guess it's about the house. So when you look in the band descriptors, it says addresses the task only partially. Okay? The task here is why and how, and you've partially addressed it in your 2 paragraphs. But you certainly had not got to the point where you addressed all parts of the task. Okay? So 5 or 6 there for a task response. And if we look, your other ones, coherence and cohesion, solid 6. Lexical could be a 7. Grammar also very good, 6 or 7. So 5, 6, 7, 6 is a 6. Okay? And so it shows, once again, for every type of task 2, it's task response where you need to pay the most attention. And that's where knowing the different types of questions is so important, because you would have done much better if this had been an advantages and disadvantages question. Or sometimes we'll see, is this a positive or negative development? If the question had said that, you'd be right on. But it didn't. So carefully, it's all about reading the test. Now, if you look at the numbers, the students here, the task IELTS tips and tricks, they had the most problems with it. And then the numbers here in the table show us that its writing is a full half band less than the other responses. Now, those are numbers based on memory. They're exact numbers. But it's writing that gives people the most problems, and then in my experience, it's task response or task achievement that gives people the most problems within the writing itself. So the best way to improve is to identify where your weaknesses are, and for the world, we found it in this topic. Now, what about task achievement, as it's in part 1 of the academic? Identifying the key information. Well, there's a lot. I've done whole videos on that. I can point you to those. But if we look at the one that I created for this presentation, show taskbar. Show taskbar. Where is it? There it is. Okay. What's the key features of this slide? I already told you what it wasn't, that it's not, it doesn't have anything to do with, where's my, there, oh wait, there. Laser pointer, there we are. Wow, there. Okay, great. All right, so here, this is it right here. Okay. These three are about, whoops. These three are about equal. Is that important? Not so much. This is definitely not important. Here's the important part. And then here, is this important? No. Women and men got the same height. These three are almost the same. These three are less the same. But here, this is dramatically different than the other thing. So look for what's really different, and you can find it in more than one place. Okay, so I would put the main information on this. First, your part 1. There is a pie chart which illustrates how a number of IELTS candidates responded to a poll regarding the band descriptors in the writing task, as well as one table with the raw figures, that's this one, and another with 2017 IELTS results worldwide. Overall, it can be seen that the writing paper gave test takers the most trouble. Ta-da! And that within that task, the task response achievement band descriptor, was, I missed a word in there, was by far the one most reported to cause difficulty. No statistics, no numbers, just what the main things that jump out at you are. Okay? So that concludes my presentation. And so now we can go to questions, if there are any, for the two people. Where else can you get information about this? Well, you can go, OBS. Can I just use a browser? Well, that one, okay, we'll use window capture, yes. Which one? Okay. Good, no embarrassing porn or anything on there. If you go, that's my blog. And here, writing task 1, the salad. Writing task 1. Okay. This is a 3-part lecture. This one in the middle, this part 2, this is the one that I would recommend if you've got 20 minutes to watch it, because it discusses the most important part of task 1, identifying the key features, and it goes through several examples. Okay, so again, that's at Temple Blogspot, or